My name is David Parker, and I'm the spoken word coordinator at CKDU. I've been covering the Occupy movement a little bit with CKDU News, tweeting at CKDU News, and on the air.
David, the last time we got together, you were mentioning the movement within the government here in Halifax and what people were saying and talking about the Occupy movement. I made reference to the fact that Occupy here in Halifax was completely out of sight and out of mind, and I said that, it should be in sight, in mind, in the streets, taking advantage of opportunities like last night's tree lighting ceremony, for instance, where there was all these people. There could have been some information at least being passed around. What was it that you have been investigating or that you've seen over the last week or two within government itself in regards to what's happening with Occupy?
My participation has been as an observer and as a journalist for the radio station at CKDU, and some of my colleagues and friends were arrested on the day of the eviction on November 11th, on Remembrance Day in Halifax. So there was a big outcry against our mayor, Peter Kelly, who apparently had the go-ahead or the consensus, the unanimous decision from the city council to do the eviction from a previous council meeting that was in camera. So none of the councillors, none of the meeting was accessible to the public, and no one knew that their councillors who were representing them were voting for the eviction. After the eviction, and it was done in such a brutal manner that many residents were shocked and outraged at the way it was conducted and were upset at their councillors. And some of the councillors have been responding to the citizens and their constituents by apologizing, whereas other councillors have taken a really hard stance and have gone beyond and said that the eviction was justified and that the police used the proper amount of force. Even though some of the people who were evicted into homelessness, so homeless people were staying at the Occupy encampment and had no place to live afterwards. And so we had firsthand accounts of the brutality, and some councillors wrote letters to their constituents apologizing for the choice, and they felt that they had no choice in the matter, and they felt that they couldn't be the lone voice saying no to the eviction. Not that shirks their responsibility of doing what their constituents have elected them to do, but nonetheless, so since then, councillors apparently have tried to bring it to council. Now, I haven't been at any of the meetings, but from what I've heard, because there's a constitutional challenge that's happening apparently in Halifax, but definitely in other cities. I know in the States there's been a challenge for the evictions, and it's being challenged in Canada that enforcing a city bylaw shouldn't be done by arrests, and because that's abnormal that would happen, it's apparently being brought, and there's a proceeding happening on the Halifax case, and so because of that, the mayor is not speaking about it and not allowing council to address the events in council meetings because of the court order, and so it's preventing the councillors from raising the issue and bringing it to the city council, which would be the political body that would decide this type of thing or arbitrate on it. So.
I saw Peter Kelly last night handing out candy canes at the tree lighting ceremony, and I had to take the enlightened path and not say anything rude to him as I didn't take the candy canes from this guy. Do you think that there's, at face value, when you look at this thing at face value, there's obviously some kind of connected, communicated plan to shut down the Occupy movement in general and put slander on it? Do you think that's what's happening here in Halifax in regards of maybe a larger plan to keep things quiet, not allowing these constituents knowledge of what's going on behind closed doors?
I mean, it's certainly a telling sign that a decision was made in an in-camera council meeting. So city council almost never does that. In my history of living here in the city, I've never heard tell of an in-camera council meeting, which means the decision was made in secret, unbeknownst to the press, unbeknownst to non-councillors, right? Mm-hmm. Normally, press are attending every city council meeting, and this was the first time I've heard tell of a council meeting happening in secret. So there's definitely something shady going on there, at least in my opinion, because that's so rare that normally happens. And it also speaks to the touchy nature of it, I think that speaks to public opinion. Public opinion has been behind the Occupy movement, and in my experience, it's rare when a protest movement has gained such a large majority of support from people. I've heard of polls that say Canadian public opinion is 56% in support of the Occupy movement, and that's a wonderful thing. It's a really, really amazing thing, and so it would the mayor wouldn't make a lot of friends, and the city councillors wouldn't make a lot of friends if they made it public the nature of their discussions that ultimately led to the eviction of the Occupy movement. So I think that's telling. It was a politically, I guess, a bad move for Mayor Kelly to do it because he certainly cited a lot of public anger against him. I don't know what that will spell in terms of next year's election because Mayor Kelly's made some mistakes in the past when it comes to I don't know if it was millions of dollars misspent from the public coffers for these rock concerts that happened in Halifax last summer and the year before. So, we'll see. I mean, hopefully some change does come about from all of this, but it certainly raised the profile of the Occupy movement, and it's very interesting to see what will happen next, I suppose.
Well, his mustache certainly isn't going to sway my vote next year. Have you? Now, you say you haven't heard of the secret constituent or these secret meetings within the government taking place here in Halifax before. Have you heard rumors or anyone else finding evidence of that happening elsewhere, whether it be in the United States or in some other foreign country?
Well, no, I haven't. I don't know how the decision-making process happened at levels of government for other cities, but what was interesting in Canada is that so many evictions happened within 48 hours of each other. So the first eviction of an occupied encampment was in London, Ontario, and then Halifax was 24 hours later. Toronto as well was a day later. Ottawa, and all of the evictions just started happening one after the other after a month of silence, and even tacit or support, like Mayor Kelly had been photographed inside one of the tents, negotiating the move of the camp for Remembrance Day.
Yeah.
So the question is, why did it all happen at once, and what's behind that? So who made the decision? Because it just seems too hard to ignore that fact, but what the answer is I don't know. But, why did it all happen at once across all these cities? Who made that decision at what level to tell all these mayors to do this, to tell all these cities to evict all of the Occupy movements? It seems like a heavy-handed and a scenario or a series of events.
Yep. My sentiments exactly. Thanks, David Parker, for your time.
No problem. Thanks, Justin.